Hello, everyone. This is Jason Pote, the Trucker's Coach, coming to you guys from the farmhouse here in Western Kentucky. And we've gotten some requests about how do you negotiate loads with brokers and what are the steps to negotiating loads with brokers? What do you do to negotiate the loads with the brokers? How do you do these things? And what are the steps? I've never negotiated a load with a broker. So I'm going to break this down into some steps. We're going to let some folks get in here, and I'm going to break this down into some steps. And in this video, we're going to have the first step that will help you to have a successful negotiation. Okay. And in this business, it's kind of the art of the deal. I would call it the art. Obviously, looking at the load board, finding a load that meets your criteria, a load that is going to a place that you desire or you want to go, or to a lane that you're wanting to go in. So you look at that load, you get the details of the information, you can haul it, the weight is good, those things. So now you get into thinking about what can I haul that for? So before you ever call, you want to know what your number is. What am I going to haul this for? And a lot of the load boards out there right now they'll give you tools of the average rate. Some of them give a 15-day, some give a 90-day, some give 30-day. Those can be used as a tool, but it's not necessarily where you need to be, okay? And a lot of people say, well, that's where I need to be in order to be profitable, because that's what the load board says. Well, that's hogwash, because it's not true. You need to be where your profitability is, whether it's above that mark, and in most cases it is, above that mark. So what you have to do at that point is you're going to get the broker's information. So you're going to call, and where a lot of people make their first mistake is the broker will say, you guys go over the load details and blase, blase, blase. And, eventually they're going to say, well, what will you haul it for? And this is where everybody makes their mistake. And you shoot yourself in the foot. You give them a number. You never give them a number first. They are trained professionals at this. They always want your number first, because if your number's low, they made money. If your number's too high, they can always come down. Okay, so you never, ever, 101, ever, no matter what, give them a number. Let them have that number first. So, for instance, I call on a load and I say, hey, this is Jason with Jarhead Transportation. I'm interested in your load going from Kentucky to Ohio. And so, we talk about the loads, and they say, well, what do you got to have? What's your best? That's what I'll tell them. What's your best? What's your best offer? What's your all in? Let's not haggle. What's your all in? We'll do it for $2,400. Well, I've looked at the board. I see what the average rate is. I use that as a tool. Can't do that. Try again. I could probably get 24 and a half out of it. They'll probably let me do that. It's not good enough. You want to go one more? Well, they probably say, well, what do you got to have? Then at that point's when you hit them. You never show your cards in the beginning, because if you do, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. So if they have a target of $2,600 to move that load or less, okay, they're going to come in at $2,400. Well, if you walked in the door at $2,450, bingo, done. Hey, we'll do that. Now you just shot yourself in the foot for something you could have got $2,650, $2,625, 26 and 3/4, even $2,700 because you went in and gave your number first. Never, ever, ever give your number first. That is 101. That's what we teach every driver that comes through this door. Never give your number first, okay? Never do that, because that is one of the biggest mistakes people getting into this side of the industry, where you are dealing with the spot market, when you are dealing with brokers on a daily basis. These people are trained, absolutely trained to lowball you. And if you come in and lowball yourself, well, you just shot yourself in the foot. We don't recommend you go out and shoot yourself in the foot, obviously. So what is the thing that you should be doing? You turn that method against them. You turn their game against them. It's reverse psychology. And when you do that, well, then the game changes into your favor. Put the game into your favor. Don't let them have the ball, because they are going to take the ball and they're going to run with it, okay? You take the ball and you run with it. You go on offense first. Or you go on defense first. Let them go on offense and you swing that onto them. In most cases, they're going to give you a number. 9 out of 10 times, they are going to give you a number. If they don't, steadfast. Don't break. They will try their best to have you give a number first. Don't ever do it. Because when you do, you've opened up the ball court in their favor. So you've opened up this game and you played by their rules. You never want to play by their rules. If you do, the negotiation goes south, and it doesn't go in your favor in most cases. Now, I've seen folks that have gave numbers first and ended up okay. But the law of averages says if they have a target price that they're going to move that for, 9 times out of 10, it's lowballed by the driver who gives their number first. Never do that. And that's the first thing that we teach in the art of the negotiation. Never give your number first. And a lot of people will disagree with that. A lot of people will agree with that. But it is the first part of the negotiation, is the reverse psychology of it. Once you put them on the defensive end, after that, then the ball's in your court. When you put the ball in your court and you've made them throw out that number, now you know where the low ball is. Okay? Because they're not going to give you the top of the mark. They're going to tell you they're giving you the top of the mark, because that's their game. They are professionals at this. They understand. A lot of these brokers are actually getting a commission on everything that they sell you below that target price. So let's just say the broker says, hey, we have to move this for $2,700. Well, if they move it for $2,400, they get 25-30% of the profit off of that, above that target price. So that broker who is negotiating that freight for you just made $90 off of your mistake. Never leave anything on the table. It is your profit. It is your business. It's how you make money. You can't run around hauling freight for free for people, but they will give you free freight if you want to haul it. So there's a lot of folks who fall for the initial part of the engagement where they give their number, and there's folks that don't. They stay fast, but then they have the other little thing. They actually will pull this. Well, you're the only truck that can pull this, man. I have got to move this load. I'm going to get in trouble, and people fall for it every day. Yeah, I just need you to give me a number, man. Anything, man. Help me out. Just give me all rates, all comers. Don't ever fall for it, because it is just another tactic of the reverse psychology to get you to throw out that number. If they can gauge your interest, if they can gauge your pricing, then they can lowball you. If they give you their lowball, which is they're telling you is your high, then you can gauge above that. So let's just say the market rate is $2,400 on that load. They shoot you 22. Oh man, that's all we can do. Or 23 even. That's all we can do. That's the best I can do, man. You're the only truck in America, and you're the only one that can haul it. Well, I got news for you, bud. I'm not going to haul it for that price. So they'll come at, well, what can you do it for? Well, I can do it for 26 and a half. At that point, we're at, $3 a mile. We're at, 280, 320. Because that's where we price our freight at. We're not going around and hauling $1 a mile freight. We just can't do that. You can't do that in sustained profitability. You cannot do that. And a lot of people don't understand, and that's where a lot of folks fail in this business. They fail because the negotiation goes south because they give that number. Never do that. If you do, you are setting yourself up for the tail end of that negotiation. You don't want to do that. And I have people that email me, Facebook message me, they go on the Facebook group. I see it in other groups. People want to know, how do you negotiate that rate? It all starts with this. This is step one. Now there's other steps involved in this, and we'll get into that in other videos, but this is step number one. And step number one is probably the most important step. It is probably the most important step in that negotiation. You have to turn this, put them on the defense. You have to do that. If you don't, chances are it's not going to work in your favor. Now, there's a lot of here is our here's our rate. Push the button. There's no negotiation. Okay, so when there's no negotiation, and a lot of drivers fall for that because chances are it's easy and you can just point and click. Easy doesn't always mean profitable. And if it's not profitable, why are you doing it? Okay? Why would you do something because of ease of use? Like, for instance, a lot of people use Uber Freight. Okay? And, they use Uber Freight because it's easy. You just push it, book it, and roll. But chances are, if you look at most of the freight rates on these push and click type load boards, they're below the market average. In most cases, some of them are slightly below. Every now and then, if they really got to move one, they'll be like 1% above or something like that. But that's very rare. In most cases, they are gauging you, or they're checking you out to see if you are going to hit that button. So they put that load out 2 or 3 days in advance, and they hope somebody hits that book button at the lower price. Now, if you're waiting and waiting and waiting and you're doing the day of, you'll watch that price. If you're watching it for the last 3 days, you will see that rate progressively go up because their need to move that load is more substantial. They have to move that load with more urgency. Therefore, what are they going to do? They're going to pay more. If you're booking that 2 to 3 days out, and see a lot of guys, they get into this business and they want to book loads 2, 3, 4 days in advance. Well, you're not getting a premium rate for that because their urgency to move that load is not of the urgency because they don't have to move that load at that point. They still have 3 days for somebody to come in and do that. So therefore, they're not going to give you that premium rate that you're requesting solely because it's 2 to 3 days away. And if it's 2 to 3 days away, chances are you're going to get the lower end of the deal. Okay, that in itself, the convenience factor is what they're selling. So when you look at those push and go, Convoy, Uber, JB Hunt 360, there's a couple others out there. I can't think off my head. That's just a few of them. but you're paying for that convenience factor. Okay, that convenience factor is built into that rate, and a lot of people hit that button because of the convenience factor, and you don't want to put your business at risk because of the convenience factor. Because if you are going to do that, you might as well go to one of the companies that have point and click load boards, right? Because heck, they're giving you 65% of nothing, so might as well go point and click because it's convenient. So the beginning of the negotiation part is never give them your number. That is the most pertinent part of negotiating rates. You have to understand you have to put them on defense. You have to change the game with them. Now, again, with them being professionals and with them knowing how to manipulate the system and how to manipulate drivers, they're going to play hardball with you. They're going to tell you, we can't do it. Don't be afraid to walk away from the phone. Don't be afraid to say no. That's kind of getting into our second part of the art of the negotiation. But the first thing and the first step is what we told you here. Never give your number first. If you do, you have set yourself up for potential shooting yourself in the foot. Never do that. That is the first step in this. So if you guys have any questions, we'll answer those now. I've went through my spill, so now we're going to open it up for questions. Anybody's got a question, go ahead and type her in. What factory have you ever seen that didn't have 10 loads per day? I have no idea. What are the worst states for loading and unloading trailers? I don't know that there are worse states for loading and unloading trailers. I think that would have to do with your customer and your customer base. As far as who you're hauling for, where it's going. I mean, obviously, if you're going to a grocery warehouse, be prepared. If you're going to a ma and pa place that is dire need for the freight, well, obviously, it's not going to take you very long. It varies all over the place. I've been in docks for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I've been in docks for 4 or 5 hours. It just depends on who you're hauling for, what their need is for the freight, and et cetera, et cetera. Is it a food grade product? Is it, the part to, food grade just seems to just take forever. Whether it's water, whether it's soda pop, whether it's cookies, if we're talking dry freight, obviously reefers set forever in docks, and we know that. They're doing a lot of grocery swapping and things like that. But there are some companies who have drop and hook reefers, and for those folks, maybe they're not setting a lot. But traditionally, owner operators with their own trailer, you're typically setting a lot in grocery warehouses. Do you actually make calls to get loads? I make them call me. I feel they call me. I have the upper hand. We call on loads. I'm not one to post my truck. I'm just not one to post my truck. I like to look and see what's out there. I like the ability to, control where I'm going. A lot of times if you post your truck, brokers are going to call you for stuff all over the place. I like to narrow my searches down. I like to go to select areas and things like that. So we call on brokers, and it doesn't matter whether the broker calls you. We get tons of emails every day from brokers wanting to move loads all over the country, whether it's flatbed, whether it's we have a step deck, so we get a lot of people wanting us to move flatbed and step deck freight, and we're primarily dry van, and a lot of our brokers know that. So we're getting offers, I don't even know, 20, 30 emails a day on loads all over the place, whether it's Indiana, Kentucky, Washington State, it doesn't matter. They look at, some of your past history of where you've been delivering loads for them and whatnot, and they just send you all kinds of emails. So no, we don't post our trucks a lot. We actually target ourselves where we want to go. But the negotiation is the same. Whether the broker calls you or you call the broker, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you negotiate that deal. We have brokers that do call us. It's just the way we do things. We like to target the load that we want, and we look at the market, and that's just the way we do it. There's no right or wrong reason to search for a load. A lot of people like people to call them, and some people like to look at the board and call them. Either way, it's fine. At the end of the day, you're going to be on the phone with the same guy or gal. The determining factor is how do you negotiate that in the beginning. So whether they call you, whether you call them, is it doesn't matter. What matters is how that phone conversation goes. Okay, so when you get on that phone, whether they called you or whether you called them, what are you saying in the beginning? Are you shooting them that number, or are you letting them shoot that number to you? So that's the the point of this video. Searching for your load. Maybe we should do a video on that as far as how we search for loads and things like that, and some of the criteria that we look for and things like that. It's that's how we do it. As far as actually talking to the broker, never give your number, and that's the in the beginning. So that's the purpose of this video. Absolutely, Travis. Everyone has their own way to do this, and like I said, it doesn't matter whether the broker calls you or you call the broker. At the end of the day, you're both going to be on the phone together, whether you called them or they called you. The main part is how do you interchange with them in the beginning of the phone conversation. And the point of it is, let them give you that number instead of you giving them that number. Put them on the defense, make them hand you that number so you can gauge where they are. And then, before you even talk to that broker, and that's why we search for our loads rather than have a broker call us. And they call us. I mean, don't get me wrong. They do call us. We just don't go, most of the time they're calling you for stuff that's, because we don't post our trucks, it's stuff we can't do anyway. But that's why we search out the load, is because we can gauge where we need to be before we put that game plan together before we call. So you need to know where you need to be before you make the call. And so that's why we use that concept for us is, we gauge what price we want to haul this for. We know our bottom dollar before we call. And then when we turn them on the defense, they're going to pop that number to you, and then you know how to adjust. So if they pop the number to you, and I've had this happen, I've set myself at 2,600 and they pop in at 28. Hey, and then at that point, hey, how about 3,000? I can probably do 28.50 sold. Why? Because I was already thinking on 26. I'm $250 ahead. So that's why you always want them to engage you first as far as the number, because you can adjust and readjust accordingly. If you give a number that's too low, you can't go up. So if you are underbidding yourself or killing yourself on a bid that you could get $200, $300, $400 more, if you bid it $200 or $300 less, bingo, we'll send you the rate con. Where if you gauge them, they may have been $200 ahead on their initial offer as to what you just booked it for. So that's the reasoning for this concept. It is It is for you to use as a tactic to put them on the defense. You never, never, never want to put yourself on defense in the beginning. It's just not, it's not good for your business. Tango Trucker says, howdy. Big Rich says, yeah, everyone has their own style as far as getting the loads, as long as you're earning. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. And, you know, like I said, doesn't matter if they call you or you call them, it doesn't matter. As long as you know where your profitability stands on load A to load B, it's like we discussed with our newest team. We knew going into Washington State, we got a pretty good rate going out there. We got $650 above the market. Okay. And I showed the guys how we do that. Okay. Cause, we let them make their call. And, you know, when they made their call, they were $100 above the market. I shot them $900 above their offer. We settled at $550 above their offer. So we got $650 above the market rate just by putting them on defense in the beginning. That is how it works. Now, sometimes when you're going into an area that you know is a backhaul market, you got to make sure that you're getting plenty on that head haul to adjust for the backhaul, because typically the backhaul, you're going to take substantially less. So you have to understand the lanes that you're running in, and we understood going out to Washington State, it sucks coming back. You have to get it on the head haul, and because on the back haul, you're not going to make a lot of money on the back end. So we had that strategy. We understood going in, so you have to plan ahead. So our guys that be out in Washington tomorrow deliver, we've got their reload booked today. So we didn't do that right away. We did it one day prior because we want to be able to have them hook and book their team. So we don't have a lot of time to just wait until you've unloaded like a solo, and then you can kind of hang out for a minute. On a team, you got to hook and book, and that's the way we negotiated their return trip. We knew going out there we were going to make money. We knew coming back we were probably going to take it on the rear. As far as money coming back, and we didn't take it on the rear, but we didn't make what we made coming back. So those are the things that you have to look at, as far as negotiating loads. One, you have to put them on defense. Two, you have to understand where you're going. Because a lot of people will underbid themselves. Like a lot of people will go down to Miami, Florida, thinking, man, this is awesome. I'm getting $2,700 to go down there. But they don't realize that coming back, you're probably going to Jacksonville, most likely empty. And unless you want to haul something for 80 cents a mile. So you have to look at it as to where you're going to. So what market am I going into? And that's part of that negotiation tactic too. Never give your number first. No matter what you do, never give your number first. Folks, this is Jason Pope, The Truckers Coach, telling you guys, like our videos, share them all over the place. Join the Facebook group at The Truckers Coach on Facebook groups, where we have more knowledge on that Facebook group than I will ever know about trucking. There are people on there that have drove backwards longer than I've drove forward, and I've been doing this for 19 years, folks, 18, 19 years. And, there's people on that group who can help you every day, who have drove in reverse more than I've drove forward. And, that alone gives you those resources. We have professionals that can help you out with accounting. We have DOT officers on there who are there to answer your questions every day. If you got something about compliance, we got people who own their own fleets, from 20 truck fleets to 2 truck fleets like myself, 3 truck fleets like myself, and everything in between. We got people who do RGN, flatbed, and tanker. You name it, we got it. And if we don't have it, we'll get it on that Facebook group. So be sure you join that group. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, be sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. You'll get notifications like today whenever we go live and we talk about things like this. And leave us a comment and tell us what kind of videos that you'd like to see, because we get our video